Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and the guy that wrote too many of these intros. You have been warned. This is Random Review.
Legacy Wave 1 continuing here on the TJOmega channel, and this time we are looking at Arcee, our Transformers Prime representation from Wave 1 Legacy. For lesser or worse as it happens to turn out. So I think before this line was even released, Arcee was the one everyone was down on from the beginning. She is a G1ified Prime Arcee, for lack of better terms, and it has been claimed that she is just a pre-tool for a Road Rocket, which is pretty embarrassing that Arcee, a main character from a main cartoon that is fairly popular for Transformers, has been reduced to a pre-tool for a obscure G2 character with almost no fiction to his name. But hey, I guess it was just time for a motorcycle at the deluxe price point, so we got one, and we're going to look at her now. Vehicle mode is a very sleek motorcycle, very smooth, very round, especially around the front. Primarily cast in blue plastic, but plenty of black stretching through as well, not only in the wheels, but along through the backside and the top of the vehicle as well. We also have some gray plastic thrown in, so she's got some color variations going on here already. The paint applications are mostly reserved for the robot mode, so there's not a whole lot we can talk about. I will tell you, these entire panels have been painted, so there's a lot of extra paint going on, and this is a big translucent section. It does allow the headlights to actually be translucent blue through there, so that's not a terrible look. It's translucent plastic, so of course, I'm not going to harp on it. You know by now. We also have a little bit of that like metallic lavender color poking through a little bit here. It kind of changes in the light. You see purple and then kind of like bluish, and purple's back again. It's a very unusual color. We'll look at it a little bit better in the robot mode, but for now it's just kind of a hidden detail piece. The sculpting on the vehicle mode isn't bad. I can see all the requirements here. You know, we see all the wheels. The wheels have kind of like a buzzsaw effect to the rims. Look, or the spokes, kind of nice. Treads are sculpted in. We see the exhaust as well. Drivetrain in the back. I don't know motorcycle terminology. I apologize to anyone out there who does. I do know an oil tank when I see it, so there's an oil tank sculpted in. Oh, there's two. She burns a lot of it, apparently. And a little bit more black here for the turn signals. So, hey, she can be safe on the road. There's none in the back, though. There's none in the back. There's only robot mode hands in the back. Which kind of brings us to the problem of the vehicle mode itself, in that yeah, there's so much exposed robot mode bits. Yeah, like, aside from the fact that, like, that's just way too fat. Like, I can't imagine anyone sitting on this, or I can't imagine this as a seat to a motorcycle. She technically has no visible seat here. Yeah, it's just too many obvious robot mode parts hanging off. Like, that's, you know, you can see her thighs up here. We can see these arms, and there's some gaps going on here, too. I will say, in the process of getting her from robot to vehicle, she is pretty finicky. She's one of those transformations where you have to do all the steps in exactly the right order or nothing works. And all of it kind of hinges, like all of it, like the vehicle, like the lower half and the upper half of the vehicle are all held together by this panel and the tabs. And it's not the nicest feeling getting those in. So buyer beware. She's kind of a problematic one to transform. You know, you could get used to it. It might just be me. So if we want accessories, we have 2 ports up here as well as 2 down here. We do have plenty of accessories for her. For starters, we do have these. We have these Energon blades I can attach to here. And now no one is going to be sitting on her, as she now has a pair of axe blades that would be right at someone's back if they attempted it. We're going to get a little bit more accessory in the robot mode, but that is going to require a little bit of part forming, but as long as it forms weapons, that generally seems to be accepted. So we're not going to harp on it too much. Let's get her into the robot mode. We'll see what all the fuss is about, because that's really where people start attacking the figure. All right, so for starters, we have to undo said panels, and like right away you can see everything can come apart now that those are separated out. I'm going to try and get these wheel halves apart so those can stretch out and give me a little bit more room. Get those out of the way. All right, so thighs can stretch out. You can see she's gonna look like a movie Arcee for just a little bit, but don't worry, we're gonna let her recover. I'm gonna get those arms transformed out of the way so I can start rotating all these parts into place. This whole section has to come down. We'll move the thighs into their proper alignment as we go. I'm going to rotate this whole piece around, and then this piece needs to flip to the front like so. That's going to form her pelvis section. Thighs going to go down, and then we gotta collapse these skinny things into her actual legs. So those go to the side. The feet, those get flipped out, and then bring the whole thing together like so. We'll do the same thing to this side. So yeah, she's got a lot of little spindly parts here. And these have to line up pretty well, and everything has to be accordion the right way when you get her from robot to vehicle. So you can tell I'm not the biggest fan of how all of that works. So I'm going to raise up the arms like that and make sure they click in like so. Forearms are going to have to come up. It's just like a little bit of like a very small double hinge that gets those into the correct place. And now we have back kibble to play with. So back kibble I usually just leave to the discretion of whoever is transforming. You work it however you think looks best. There's no wrong or right to it, but I am going to put it into what is I believe the official positioning for the back kibble, like so. And that is going to give me Arcee in her finalized robot mode. And I'm going to tripod her because she's got a wheel hanging off of her back. Like so. So, as you saw, there's a lot of thin bits to the transformation, and everything kind of hinges on those two panels that now hang off of her back. She's a little bit problematic. Not my favorite figure to transform, certainly. Going to the robot mode is quite a bit smoother. Getting her into the vehicle mode takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of memory. So be on alert. You're going to have to practice it a little bit. And oh, don't count on the instructions for help. They're as bad as they've always been. But looking at her now, yeah, we can see she's definitely not Arcee from Prime as we know her. She is bulked up and beefed up quite a bit. Her proportions are noticeably different. She is more or less Prime Arcee with some G1 flair, if we can phrase it that way. So the robot mode itself has broken up the blue quite considerably. We've got a lot more black and gray, this gunmetal color, coming in to break things up and give her a little bit of a different look. So it does balance the colors nicely. I do like how everything just kind of comes together pretty well here. Proportionally, she is a little heavier than normal, but she looks like she's just been putting in time in the gym. It's not like a bad heavy or anything, or a bad thick. It's more like, you know, she's ready. She's ready for a fist fight, like more so than she used to be. Let's put it that way. We also see that like metallic lavender coming into play here. We can see a little bit on the forearms as well as stripes here down both sides of the legs, and of course the crest on her helmet. Here, let me play with the focus, and we'll focus in on that head for a little bit. So at the very least, I believe the head sculpt comes fairly close to what Prime Arcee would look like in G1. The right lines are there, but they don't go into like those hard, sharp angles that Prime was known for. You know, it is a much more standardized head. And how you view that is completely your discretion. I know some people who prefer the look, the more normal look for a Transformer, and others that are outraged that she just does not look as much like Prime Arcee as she should. She's trying to fit into the current G1-centric line, which is kind of to her detriment because she is from a series that decidedly tried to go against G1 design. So it's striking a balance, and whether or not it works is entirely up to your opinion. So now that we've covered that, we can actually rotate her to the back and take a look at the back kibble, because most female Transformers do end up with a sizable backpack. This Arcee is no different, though if you've owned her previous RID figure, nothing you're not familiar with when it comes to this design. So she does have the front end of the vehicle as well as those panels hanging off the back. We can mitigate this a little bit because the front does come off, and that's going to give us a weapon later on, so that does thin it down quite a bit if we want to weaponize Arcee. If we want to go further, the front end of this is actually just one big tab holding it in. So if you just want this super clean look with absolutely no weight to her, you can do that as well. Also makes it real easy to enjoy the light piping. So that is also a thing that has come back. I've never been a huge fan of light piping, mostly because it's very hard to make the toy look like it's alive when there's no light going through its eyes. But you know what? To each their own. I know people who love it. Now, in transforming this toy, there's a few things to note. For starters, the waist joint is terrible. You see, it will fight you at that point, and it will try very hard to lock into certain positions. And you'll notice as you try to bend her waist, that hinge that she needs for the transformation will cause her to float backward. And I can't stop that. I can't put, that's just how she comes. I have no idea what's going on here. This is just way too loose. There's nothing snapping it in. There's nothing that pegs in to actually solidify that, which is really hurting her. And then, as I said, just that waist does not work. And with the pelvis piece working the way it does, it just looks weird. Even if you get it to a bend, it looks weird. So that's hurting her. The rest of the articulation is fine. She has a ball jointed neck, so she can look left, she can look right, and she can look upward. So she's got that going for her. Universal shoulders once again, full 360 with the waist. She has a nice elbow bend as well as wrist swivels, which we haven't seen in this wave so far. Now we have. Ignoring the ugly waist, we have a full universal joint in the thigh as well as, or in the hip, as well as a rotation in the thigh. It doesn't go all the way around, but enough to pose the legs well. And then we have the knees, which thankfully the joints holding that inner leg actually do hold tight enough to allow you to bend the knees without anything flying off. You do have to be a little bit attentive of it, but it's not anything terrible. And then we do have an ankle tilt. Not an extreme one, but enough to work. So, good articulation, except for the waist. Now, if we want to play around with her a bit, we can take her front wheel and split it open to create this double-bladed weapon. And I do like that they painted the spokes here. That does create a nice effect. That can just plug into her hand in order to give her, some sort of double saw melee weapon. That is a potential use. You can also start giving her something akin to her actual arm blades from Transformers Prime. That is also another option. If you so choose, these two pieces can combine into a single disc, with which you can either give her a third spinning blade or arm her with a shield as well. So, nice options there. Nice weapon options for her. Now, the real reason for this thing to exist is this port behind her, the neck on her. If I can bring her down like so and plug that in. Now we start to see where we start to see where Road Rocket lives in this mold. So expect that down the line. It's already in the Walmart computers. That's going to be on the way. That is Legacy Arcee. She is unfortunately disappointing compared to the first two I've reviewed. While I do like the weapon options on her, the vehicle mode is just not very convincing. I really feel like it could have been smoother. And I don't mind the G1ified look to her, for the sake of making her similar to the rest of the line. But I do feel like I do feel like there's just a little bit has gone wrong here. That waist joint in particular, and like the hinge above it, just makes her a little bit unpleasant to deal with. So, a problematic girl. But you know what? I'm sure as Road Rocket, she'll be a little bit more popular. So, that said, thank you for watching yet another one of these Legacy reviews. We got one to go. No reason not to finish it up, so stay tuned. That one's coming up next. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.